We're going to talk about my plan to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can over the next 6 months. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you are new, make sure you have subscribed. Hit that bell button, it does help. And obviously leave a like and a comment. Now, I know I'm doing really kind of obvious content in terms of trying to help you guys here in terms of how the market works and how things happen. Highly speculative, must take profit, understand that. I've been looking through some of my old content from May, talking about it. Guys, honestly, I've been beating this drum. I know I get a lot of flack on social media from trolls and people in Telegram groups moaning, but realistically, the content is there. You need to learn it. Now, I want to talk about this because I want to outline my full plan of what I'm doing. And if this plan happens, I've got two plans. Plan A, essentially, would be the best one overall. But realistically, I don't know what's going to happen. The crucial level is that 30,000 level, in my opinion. We'll zoom in a minute and look at it. But there's a few caveats to what I'm doing overall. I've got stable currency right now, profit from 6 weeks ago. I have BTC as well, so I've been taking some profit in BTC throughout the course of the last 6 months as well. Ready to go, right? But I want more BTC to then put into altcoins, and I'll explain why. So make sure you stick around. If you do like this content, though, please do subscribe. It does majorly help. Now, one thing to talk about is obviously price action. Realistically, this is what's going to happen. If Bitcoin dumps, people will panic, right? And then the dominance chart, which we need to talk about a bit, will gradually go up. I put a tweet out a few days ago. The time is now to sell your altcoins into Bitcoin. Dominance season is going to change. I feel what's going to happen either way, win-win, is potentially if Bitcoin moons, dominance is going to rise. If Bitcoin dumps, people will panic. More money will go out the market. Bitcoin is a dominant force. It's a king, essentially. It's got the most holders. That gradual dominance will change anyway. So the strength of Bitcoin as a holding community element will essentially rule versus the altcoins in the BTC pair. So I've mentioned this a lot. I just want to talk about it briefly. Basic attention token. Yeah, jokes. I'm just using it for the Satoshis, right? It is worth 1,500 Satoshis right now. If you put that in the price metric currently in like BTC/USD, that is a price of the market, essentially, of that asset. Forget about USD, trust me, because this is where you accumulate units properly. Now, when we start talking about this dominance element, I feel we're going to go back up. Now, we are on the log scale here. It looks a little bit disformed, a little bit, but realistically, we're on the weekly time frame log scale. I think we're going to start shooting back up to 50%, maybe even 58%, or maybe a little bit higher. But realistically, if I put this back onto normal scale, it kind of skews a little bit. So realistically, looking at both situations, a 60% wouldn't be too bad. It would probably be the best case scenario for me overall, looking at what I'm aiming to achieve right now. So you need to pin your ears back. Life-changing wealth. I've got you now, haven't I? But this is how the game works, right? If you go from a bearish period into a bullish period, having ammo and a plan, the chances of success is pretty high, realistically, right? I've said it a lot. I only worry about USD prices at one moment and one moment only, when BTC is at its freaking highest. And that's what I do. I do buy stupid stuff with it. I do apologize as well, so I do that quite a lot. Oops. But realistically, right, what I want to achieve is having BTC to then therefore put it into altcoins when they're low in their BTC pairing. Remember that. And I then accumulate and then I sell for BTC. And then when BTC is at its highest, woof, I profit into stables, I put it into the bank, I pay off my house, I do all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff and buy stupid stuff, right? So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is what's going to happen. This is where I'm going to go with the analysis. Now, I'm going to clear most of this off so it kind of doesn't look as daunting. We're on the weekly time frame. Now, go to the log scale. Now, I'm focusing mainly on the previous all-time high. And we're going to go to the 3K dump. And I want to show you where this ends up. It's pretty interesting. Why? Because when you start looking... Oh, hello. Is it not a little bit concerning that this has happened? Now, these are some extension levels that I like to use. it have been well respected all the way throughout. You can see very, very easily how it's kind of went all the way up. It's kind of found a level of support here. It's went down again, found a level of support, resistance, some elements of support, obviously melted a little bit before, but realistically it's working. If we zoom into this though, this is why I think 19k, 20k is kind of important, because I feel that we are going to readdress and retap into where this has kind of stopped and turned around and rejected once on 1 weekly time frame. But realistically, what's going to happen? The worst case scenario is you're going to get more Satoshis for your buck if you've got stable currency. Winner. But realistically, fingers crossed, in the entity of this market, a lower Bitcoin is always good anyways, because it always brings things back to reality. It will always reset the market. If BTC then turns around and goes pretty parabolic, which I do think it will, I don't think the top's in, by the way, for Bitcoin, it's kind of important to think, well, where can we go from here? Now, this is where we need to look elsewhere. Now, for me, I think that is that bullish phase kind of over with for now. That's kind of how I feel. Now, what do I mean by that? Is it a bear market? No. I just think the hype cycle is just going to cool off a bit. I don't think overall, in the grand scheme of things, we've fully corrected. That doesn't mean Bitcoin, by the way. That just means everything else. I think there's still a lot of dumb money in the market which we need to get rid of. So this is the plan. I'm waiting to see what that dominance chart does. If that indicator tells me, and as an index, that more money is going to come out in the market, that dominance chart is going to wreck altcoins and your Satoshis will bleed out. Therefore, the opportunity is there for me to do plan A. If BTC drops lower than 30k, I will be gradually putting stable currency into that to get as many Satoshis as I can, to therefore have even more ammo when those altcoins drop like a stone. And I will explain a little bit in more detail about why they are important. Now, when you look at this overall and you start doing more analysis, we can kind of gather this is a top, right? Obvious, I know, I've just said it, it's silly. You can see it on the screen, obvious on the log scale, but the extension level is there, it's a tick in the box, right? But if we're gonna look from this low, right, and I'll probably go to the normal chart on this one because it's not quite that far away, you can see already as well, looking at the log scale, 21,000 is a level of the fib. Doesn't, are we gonna drop lower? Potentially. If I go down to here, this is where we're getting more interesting. 27,000 on the normal situation of a chart here on the low to the high, the 618. Have that number in your head, and that's a number that I've got in my head when I'm just going to start thinking, oh, hello, because we got the confluence level of these wicks. These wicks are 29k, and you've got these wicks a little bit lower, about 28k, and then you've got the 618 level at 27k. I personally believe this could be a reactive zone for Bitcoin. I think this whole level could be reactive. That's important. Now, if that indicator tells me that I could just jump in and get extra Satoshis for my money and then sit on Bitcoin and just hold on until the dominance rises, I'll be happy, realistically, even if the fiat value drops a little bit more. But the reason why I say that is because even though this drop's going to be pretty savage, it's going to affect overall this, because I think this is going to start going back up. Normal scale, even if we go to 52% and retest this EMA, your Satoshi values of everything is going to do this, basically. That's just shocking. Let's look at another chart. Cardano. You're going to start seeing stuff like this where they're going to drop, and you can see this already. I did a video on this not too long ago, Cardano. We're going to drop quite severely, and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. But when you start looking at the chart structure of these, let's remove some noise here. It's looking relatively healthy. If this does happen, right, and let's just say, if we're looking from this swing low to this swing high, right, and yes, it drops, even if we drop to this point here, when we're looking at this point, so not so much the golden ratio of the entire move, but from that move, that could be very, very interesting anyways. It's still going to be a nice little discount. But if we're going to go, let's just say, and we'll do it from like to like, so you can see it. What if this is going to be a buy area for you to buy Cardano, right? With your BTC, that is sitting as Satoshis. And that, realistically, that move does come apparent. If that happens, and then you can get like 180 or maybe even higher percentage of Satoshis, that's the game we're playing. A lot of these BTC pair charts look really good. Like, they are looking great structure. great levels overall for potential drops. The fundamentals of the coin hasn't changed, but the realistic point is BTC, as a high BTC, it always catches people out because your fiat is higher. But if dominance is increasing, it's not good. If dominance is increasing and the total 2 chart is going down, it's doubly not good because your Satoshis are going to get melted and you're going to be buying at the wrong time. So what you need to always try and, capital preservation is Satoshi preservation realistically. That's what you're looking at. So that is my plan. My plan is BTC to drop. Whether it drops to 27k, whether it drops only to 30k, whether it drops even lower than that at 20k potentially, which could be this all-time low kind of situation for the year, maybe, hopefully, but it was the 2017 all-time high, if you get my picture. But realistically, if that happens, either way, I think the dominant chart is going to do its thing. I think it's just going to go up. I think one situation, you got altcoins, new people, they'll sell, BTC rises. If BTC then corrects and goes back up a way, guess what's going to happen? That dominant chart is going to go up again because it's going to be more powerful than the altcoins because people will probably be jumping onto BTC to catch that pump, gain some money back, right? So it's important. Therefore, you can just trade predominantly on basically the BTC charts. If you're looking at the likes of Polkadot, if it goes all the way back down to these old levels, this is where when the dominant chart was high, this is where they were, really low. And for taking profit, by the way, all you do, if you go on Binance, link below if you want to jump in on Binance, you get some freebies. You basically go on the BTC chart, you just sell into Bitcoin. Don't have to change into USD. Just go, I want to buy with Bitcoin, I want to sell with Bitcoin. That is all you do. It's relatively straightforward, but it's important. It's very, very important you understand the dynamic of the market. That's a game I am playing. It's how I accumulate BTC. It works. It really does work. And when you start looking at your portfolio and you start seeing the dominance rise and you're toggling onto the Delta wrap and you're like, oh, my Satoshi just dripped off a cliff. It's not good. Even if you're looking at the likes of BNB, an example, we've had a lower high on the weekly. It's looking pretty ugly. But this is where the 618 level is. But the reason why this is lower than that is because of these regions. If that happens, right, and as I say, looking at the extensions and look at the chart structure, we could have this situation. This is what I want to happen, right? If this melts and booms up there, what could happen with the BTC dominance chart could be very, very simple. We could basically go right up to these points, hold as resistance, and then we may continue a swing low down to 30%. That would be the alt season that we'd dreamed of, basically. That's what could happen if altcoins carry on progressing, carry on growing. There's another hype cycle. That's what could happen. So realistically, how to grow your BTC is simple. You buy your altcoins when your BTC is up here. Dominance, is up here with BTC. You then look to gradually sell as it goes down, which is what I've been doing. I've been gradually selling into BTC, so I've got fuel. And therefore, refresh, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It gets very, very simple once you understand it.